Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an aspect of the race that might be a path to finding the winner. Well, the big day arrives on Sunday at Sha Tin, Derby Day for 2024, and this is the race that Hong Kong owners prize the most. This is the one they all want to win. It's always a huge day, and we've got a particularly interesting version of the Derby this year with the 5 main favourites drawing the 5 outside barriers. So although the Derby is not going to be one of the 2 races that I analyse on the show today, I did think that was a good reason to take a bit of a detour in the Derby direction and have a look at just what those Derby draws do mean. There's a lot made of it every year, horses drawing out or drawing in, and I thought I'd take a look at just how significant the draw is in the Derby. So first of all, I've got a table here dealing with the Sha Tin 2,000 metre start. Now, this is a difficult start because it's only about 100 metres to the first turn. Very short run indeed, and that turn then continues all the way round to the 1400 metre point before the runners get another straight run. So if you're caught wide or having to work around that first turn, you're out there for a long way and it's a real battle. And on this table you can see the draw stats for all the 2,000 metre races since 2004. Now firstly, it isn't a distance all that frequently used. As you can see, only 354 races in that time. So there are a couple of anomalies to the data, including a surprisingly poor result for Gate 2. But I think the case can be made overall that there's an edge for horses drawing the inside gates, and that's what you'd expect from the geography of the 2,000 metre start. For this second table, I'm looking only at the effect of the barriers in the Hong Kong Derby. Now, this race was 1,800 metres up until the year 2000, when it went to 2,000 metres, and we got this difficult start. So, of course, this is a much smaller sample again, but it doesn't have quite the same appearance. In fact, outside draws have won more than their fair share of Hong Kong derbies. Gate 14 is actually the second most successful gate in percentage terms behind Gate 3, and is also the second best performing draw versus market expectations. So that annual rush to panic about horses which draw wide in the Derby, maybe it does get overplayed. Yes, it can lose you the race, but I think it just might be a little bit overplayed every year. So if you're on one of the favourites on Sunday, keep your confidence high. All right, the first race I'm going to look at on the show today is race 8, where our winning factor is the draw. And this is a particularly strong Class 1. Plenty of these horses are capable of taking group races, so it won't be any pushover for any runner. But I think the ones who will be getting the most attention will be the last start Class 2 winners, Beauty Charge and How Deep Is Your Love, Consistent Packing Treadmill and Invincible Sage, and Zac Purton's mount Flying Ace, who has finally come up with a good barrier. Now, one of the key meetings between 3 of the runners here, Beauty Charge, Flying Ace and Packing Treadmill, occurred back in November, and the emerging horse who actually took the race out was a little fellow called Helios Express, who is going to start one of the favourites in the Derby. But we're looking at this 1,200 metre race from a sprinting point of view, and this is race 179, Gate 9, yellow and black colours, Flying Ace, and he goes straight back to the rear from the outside, while Packing Treadmill pushes forward from Gate 2 in blue and white, and Beauty Charge in the familiar pink and black beauty colours from Gate 1 isn't the best away, and he goes back to the rear with only Flying Ace behind him when they settle down. Now, this is not a race shape to really suit the finishers. Lyle Hewitson on Packing Treadmill sets all the rules and turns it into a sprint from the top of the straight. But he does find at the finish, giving Helios Express 13 pounds in the handicap just beyond him, while Flying Ace, giving away a huge start with the tempo against him, is flashing up to them late for third. Now, Beauty Charge, I didn't mention much about his run there. He wasn't seen to good effect, but he did pull up with a vet issue after the race and has subsequently been wide at his next run, which we're going to see shortly. But he has then won at Happy Valley in Class 2, and I think it'd be wise to judge him on that race. But we're going to have a look at that race where he was caught back and wide with little chance to show his best. And to the three horses that we just looked at in that replay, you can add Invincible Sage and How Deep Is Your Love. And this is race number 416. How Deep Is Your Love, gate 6 orange colours, Invincible Sage, gate 8 green and red colours, and both drift back towards the rear early, where we also see Flying Ace and Beauty Charge, as mentioned, both of them caught wide. Now, not a heat map to suit finishes again, Packing Treadmill once more the leader, but he didn't run up to that previous effort, unable to really find a strong kick this time at the finish. While How Deep Is Your Love flashes through between horses to win, Invincible Sage tries to follow him, but has some traffic before closing well. And once again, you see down the outside there, Flying Ace after that wide run, making ground towards the finish. An exceptional effort from the winner, I would say Group 1 class, that performance from How Deep Is Your Love under the big weight. But again, he has a big weight on Sunday. But yet another race where Flying Ace had a wide draw, had a difficult run, and we weren't able to see him at his best. Now, he is a horse that we've seen can be brought undone by the wide gates and by a mixed sort of a tempo like he got there. Well, I think on Sunday he's going to get relief in both areas. When we go to the map, gate 5 is the best draw this season for Flying Ace, so he might be able to sit a little bit closer than we've seen, but he also gets a race with designated front runners like Nervous Witness and Whiz Kid, along with Packing Treadmill and even Drombeg Banner, though he might find this a bit sharper than the usual 1400 metre races where we see him lead. But all in all, it looks a true pace that will give these run-on horses their chance. But the tip from me in race 8 is Flying Ace. His winning factor, the draw. Well, it's been half a season coming, and Flying Ace has been toiling admirably from difficult draws without the pace in his favour at times. On Sunday, all the moons align. He gets a good speed, a much better draw, and I think this is his chance to break through. The other race I want to take a look at is the final race, race 10, and our winning factor here, the finisher. Well, we finish with, as we often do at Sha Tin, a Class 3 over 1400 metres, and I think this race boils down to three main prospects, green and white, and the two horses who are rising in class off last start wins in Class 4, Patch of Theatre and Aero Invincible. And it's the latter pair that I'm really interested in here, and coincidentally, their last start wins in Class 4 came just an hour apart on March the 10th. First of all, race 487, gate 1 for Aero Invincible in the pink colours, and he jumps well, soon has the back of the leaders, and the pace is good early, but amps up a bit mid-race. So Aero Invincible is spending some of his finishing power by being that close to the strong pace being set. However, the leaders, of course, they're suffering more by setting that pace, and when Andrea Atzeni brings him out, the race is quickly over inside the 200 metres, though there are some late finishes you can see behind are narrowing the margin. Two races later, and we saw Patch of Theta. This is race 489. He's in gate 4 blue colours. Now, he isn't the best away, but Hugh Bowman is able to use the good draw here to have the horse in midfield in a race where you can see on the heat map the speed is good, it's even, but not as strong as we saw in that earlier replay. Patch of Theta gets into a good rhythm, travels nicely, and then he takes a little time to gather up the leaders who don't come back to him as quickly as the leaders did in that earlier replay because they haven't done as much work, but eventually he's coming away over the final stages. And the way that the first three place getters easily beat the rest of the field there tells you some positive things about the form in that race. Now, those two races, an hour apart and only 0.03 seconds apart in overall time, but they give you a good example of what I'm talking about whenever I discuss race shape or the way that energy is distributed throughout the race, at what point horses are working or not working. And I've put together a little bit of a comparison of their actual individual times throughout those races. So it's clear that Patch of Theta was the one who finished the race off most powerfully. I told you that. But as I mentioned, you can see here, Aero Invincible had to run faster times through the middle of the race to keep hold of his prominent position. So it's no surprise his final 400 metres was just average, while Patch of Theta was much faster after saving energy during the middle of the race. So the question I guess you have to ask yourself, how would Patch of Theta have fared if he'd had to run those Aero Invincible mid-race sections just to keep up? Would he have finished as well? And would Aero Invincible have won more impressively if he'd sat further back away from that strong lead and kept more in his energy for the finish? So we can also look at these horses through the prism of what we're expecting in terms of sectionals and how the race shape is for Sunday's race when we go to the map. Now the speed here from a number of runners, including Aero Invincible, but I think most would expect the speedy Saquin to be able to lead from his wide gate and ensure the pace is genuine. Aero Invincible, he moves out this time from gate 1 to gate 7. Patch of Theta stays inside again from gate 3, likely sitting behind Aero Invincible in the run, and I think that gives him a chance to show us again whether the data from that last start is right and he has the bigger finish of the pair. So the tip from me in race 10, Patch of Theta. His winning factor, the finisher. Now, I don't think there's a huge amount between these two horses and they're going to dominate discussions on the race, but we are going to get a situation here where Patch of Theta can back up last time, produce that big finish and give a start and still a beating to the promising Aero Invincible. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Enjoy the Derby on Sunday. We'll see you next time.